What's good, everybody? Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode. And this is SWFTCOIN 3. That's right, man. SWFTCOIN 3 is finally here. The wait is finally over. Did you bring a drink? I told y'all this is a nightcap. I got some homemade cranberry juice right here. Make you do the pucker. Y'all see them cranberries in that thing? This is fat, boy. Look. Sorry, I gotta be sober tonight. Somebody gotta drive this crazy train. Man, I've had so much fun making these SWFTCOIN videos. It feels good to finally be getting this video out, man. But as usual, before we get started, man, I gotta let y'all know this is not financial advice. This is strictly for entertainment purposes. I'm just here to bring the news. If you good with that, let's get it.
It's time to shake the focus up. Sick of being sick and tired. Tell me if you had enough. Yeah, it's Shooks in the building now. We ain't missing nothing. We gon' catch them if they try to run.
And so, here we are again. We can come a long way, but what's left? Is there anything more, any more curiosity grabbing information that we can pull from this? We looked into volcanoes and succulents and the Mori clan. We took a look at the logo and got some assistance from our friend Black Roo, Crypto Roo podcast, with some insights on water symbolism. Also taking a look at the Japanese text there next to the Swift logo. But there's still 3 symbols we have not touched. And it's definitely time that we did. The message behind this picture doesn't really come through strong enough until we do. This one's going to be a little bit different. It won't be perfect. None of them have been. But stick with me and we just might reach a mutual understanding of what we see. As always, I have to exercise honesty, and to that end, I gotta admit that I was stumped. I could find no matching families for 2 of the symbols that we see remaining. So I had to take a different approach. Is it possible that these are actually just items similar to the succulent or the volcano? But where would we start? Maruni Icho Kuzushi. Maruni's posthumous writings destroyed. That's what it translates to if you use that exact text from Japanese to English, Google Translator. Well, posthumous, that's post-life, right? And tied with destroyed, it almost sounds tragic. But what could it be? I found myself staring at this image and thinking, is the base of it a boat anchor? Absolutely not. Things don't hang off of... Wait. Is it a tree? So now I'm frantically diving, searching for tragedy and trees in Japan, and I'm sounding like a crazy person until I come across the ginkgo tree. The fresh sprouts that have overcome disaster. The radiated ginkgo tree that continues to bravely live on. At Myojoin Temple, located in the Higashi ward of Hiroshima, there's a radiated ginkgo tree, estimated to be over 150 years old, that continues to live on ever since it was exposed to radiation from the atomic bomb 77 years ago, and still survives in the face of repeated damage inflicted by typhoons and lightning strikes. Now, 77 years ago would date this article to have been from 2022 if the bombing took place in 1945. But could this really be possible? Well, I came across this article from Indiana University in April of 2021 where students and faculty of the Japanese liberal arts program gathered to plant a sapling that was grown from the seeds of likely the very same tree that survived the atomic bombing of Japan in 1945. But it says here that the tree is 300 years old. Now, this article, again, was only 1 year prior to the last, as this was in 2021. But either way, it would seem that the tree did, in fact, survive. But had it ever been used for symbolism? This information brought to us by the Seattle Japanese Garden.org. In addition to the importance of its seeds, the ginkgo's fan-shaped leaf is beautiful and unique. It lends itself to stylization. In Eastern Asia, it became a recognizable motif. This motif was especially important in Japan, where it emerged in paintings and poetry, and in the designs of family crests or kimonos. By the 17th century, it appeared on swords and ceramics, and later on buckles, jewelry, kimono, and other textiles, and more subtle examples abound. The tool used to pluck the strings of a shamisen, a musical instrument, is shaped like a ginkgo leaf, as are the top knots of sumo wrestlers. Even the T that symbolizes the prefecture of Tokyo resembles a stylized ginkgo leaf. Interesting. So what we found here is a ginkgo without the crest. And we can now summarize that the ginkgo represents strength and resilience stemming from a difficult time in Japanese history. 2 more to go. But the next one, however, is actually, it was a fairly quick one. And that's because I drew this from recently gained information to go for sort of a self-solve here. Just as with the last one, I was unable to find a matching family, but that doesn't mean this goes without meaning. We can see that the inside of this circular form is very similar to that of the ginkgo leaf shown above. So now we have a ginkgo leaf inside of a circle. When we took the family crest angle with this one, we came across Hitotsu Ikonomaru. Well, this actually translates in English to one. There's that word again, posthumous circle. So we have post-life, but in a circle. Now, circles have a fair amount of spiritual meaning on their own, right? For instance, in marriage and weddings, it's intended to represent a never-ending or eternal love. I believe that's exactly what we're getting here. A circle for eternal or forever living, with the ginkgo included due to its powerful reference. It was said that a lot of the ginkgo tree died from radiation and that the remaining pieces respawn new growth the following spring. And just like that, we have arrived at the final piece to the puzzle. And believe me, this is a big one. We're going off the deep end again. Before we do this, I just wanted to take a minute to point out that Black Rue and Maximus Crypto tried to spill the beans. They tried to spill the beans. Them and what I believe is a sub from Max's channel, Haroon, I think is how it's pronounced. They tried to spill the beans.
A Tory gate, and that I think is one of the families too. Tory family, a very prominent family, which signifies the entrance to a Shinto shrine and division between the physical and spiritual worlds. Wow.
We might hear from those two again later. But that's exactly right, people. If you thought the Mori clan was interesting, have you heard of the Tori clan? Or for a more modern approach, the Tori Saji family. Tori clan was a samurai family of the late Sengoku and Edo periods of Japanese history, loyal retainers of the Tokugawa clan since the late 16th century. Now, that's the same reference as the Tokugawa shogunate mentioned in SWFTCOIN 2. For a quick cultural reference, right? A shogun would be a central leader answering to only the emperor, and the shogunate would be what the shogun rules over. And so that Tokugawa shogunate and Meiji Restoration, right? That was all about returning power to the emperor, right? So again, I'm not an expert on Japanese history and culture, but that's what I've been able to read up on. Getting back to the subject at hand, the family was originally granted a fief of Yahagai in Shomosa province in 1590. It was worth 40,000 koku. Now, a fief of land is just a plot of land granted under feudal conditions. And then we have a koku. I wasn't sure of this, so I had to look it up, but a koku of rice equaled 1 ryo of money, which was represented by a gold coin called a koban or koban. Koban or koban had a fixed weight of 18.2 grams or 0.64 ounces of gold. At an exchange rate of about $1,200 per ounce of gold, 1 ryo or 1 koku would have therefore been $800 USD in today's money, right? And that's assuming the price of gold was measured at $1,200, which right now gold is currently higher than that, but we'll stick to that number just to keep it easy. So taking that 40,000 koku by $800 would be $32 million. I'm not a math expert, so somebody, Indigo Saint, you watching, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that sounds about right. So going back to the story here, we can see that at one point annual income was 260,000 koku, right? So if just one koku was $800, then we're looking at $208 million. If the price of gold is double that now, you do the math, right? We can see that there was a death in the family and the land was returned, but then that member's brother was given another piece of land. So now we've taken a glimpse at the history, but are there any current mentions of the Tori clan? Well, all I can say is get ready. You know I wouldn't bring you all the way here for nothing. If you were listening earlier, I gave a clue. The Tori Saji clan. Take a look at this from Bloomberg in 2020. The fourth generation Tori Saji family was ranked 14th on Asia's richest list. Not just Japan, Asia. With an estimated wealth of 16.3 billion. Check this out. Suntory founder Shinjiro Tori opened his first store in 1899, selling wine and Western-style liquors. If you're watching this video, that's before you was breathing, unless you're 125 years old. His son, Kaizo Saji, took over as president in 1961. Under his leadership, Suntory has become a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate with interests ranging from alcoholic beverages to health foods. The founder's grandson, Nobutada Saji, now chairs the company. So we got the timeline here. In 1899, Shinjiro Tori opens Tori Shoten, which was Suntory's predecessor. Then in 1961, Tori's son, Kizo Saji, becomes the company's second president. In 2001, Nobutada Saji takes over as president of Suntory. Then 2016, Nobuhiro Tori becomes director of Suntory Beverage and Food. There's two things to point out here. The first, don't let the names throw you off. In Japan, they have both maternal and paternal naming systems, so this is not uncommon. The decision usually depends on various factors such as personal preference, cultural norms, legal requirements. But the second thing is the name change for the company between 2001 and 2016. Now, why did that happen? I wonder if it's due to this bid that was placed for Jim Beam in 2014 for $16 billion. The article stated, over the weekend, Suntory announced its planned takeover of American whiskey giant Beam. If the deal goes through as planned, Suntory Time will soon refer not just to Suntory's famed Japanese whiskeys like Yamazaki and Hibiki, but also to Jim Beam, Maker's Mark, and even Referral Scotch. Well, guess what? It went through. And they took Jim Beam maker Beam Incorporated private the same year. The most interesting article I read this month is from 2019. For those who don't drink, let me just say you would be lucky to find a bar in America without Jim Beam. The chart says families still own many of the world's most famous spirits. Saji and Tori were the top of the boozy billionaires with Hibiki and Jim Beam, originating back in 1899 with a $22 billion stake. I'm not making this up. Check the Bloomberg headline. Booze dynasties control 70 billion of the world's liquor wealth. The origins of the families behind brands like Bacardi, Suntory, and Campari stretch as far back as hundreds of years. So now I'm digging, and I just need one more thing. I need something else to tell me that there's another reference to blockchain technology or crypto somewhere or something here. Something more current. I need to see Suntory using blockchain. And then I stumbled across this. The careers page for SuntoryBeverageandFood.com. I first had to see if I could figure out who owns the site. Now, people, what we're looking at here is called a Who Is record. We can't see the name because it's been hidden for privacy. That's normal, but we can see where the registrant is located. And that, of course, is Japan, Tokyo, Japan. Suntory is located in Japan as well, though not Tokyo, so it's worth a look at least, right? What happens if you search blockchain? Web3 technical product manager for smart contracts. Where is the job located? Wait, Singapore? We all saw SwiftCoin 1 and 2, so we're just gonna keep it moving, right? Now this part, it's gonna be hard to see. Let me try zooming in here. In the role responsibilities, we have take charge of the entire Suntory Web3 product direction and come up with new features and functionalities. Collaborate with key partners such as the Ethereum Foundation, Polygon Foundation, and MetaMask. Requirements: must have real work experience in the layer 1 or layer 2 companies. Having experience in developing NFT marketplace is preferred. Now, I'm going to make a comment here, and with this, I'm making what I hope is a safe assumption in that you are up to date on SwiftCoin content and that you've checked out the videos from the Underdog Research channel, especially the one where he introduced MetaPath. And I'm bringing this up at this moment because in a recent discussion that we had, I was going over how MetaPath is aiming to be the infrastructure for the metaverse. And people, when we're discussing layer 1 or layer 2, we are most definitely discussing infrastructure. Now, of course, that does not mean that this role is working for Swift. It's just simply meant to demonstrate that this company is for sure interested in Web3 and blockchain technology. Man, who's still hanging on? I told y'all this was the crazy train. Oh, man. Now, the good news here is we are just about ready to go for the solve. But before we do that, let's check back in with these bean spillers over here and see what they had to say.
Appreciate you being here. Let's just read a few more comments. Haroon says this image display icons that are very representative of Japanese culture symbolism. From left to right, top to bottom, we have, boom, here's your answer.
Oh, let's go.
You read it. You asked for it, you read it.
A folding fan sensu, which is often associated with traditional Japanese arts and performances. A Torii gate, and that I think is one of the families too. A Torii family, a very prominent family, which signifies the entrance to a Shinto shrine and division between the physical and spiritual worlds. Wow. A chrysanthemum.
You gotta say like Mike Tyson though. Anyway, I'm kidding.
I don't even think I could do it. Can you do it?
A chrysanthemum, which is a symbol of the Imperial House of Japan and is often used as a symbol of longevity and rejuvenation. Number 4, the image below the fan looks like a stylized wave, reminiscent of the famous woodblock print, quote, the Great Wave of Kanagawa by Hakatsuai. Number 5, like me in the in the 5th round, Mount Fuji, a symbol of Japan and one of its most iconic natural landmarks, kind of like when I got knocked out by Buster Douglas in Japan.
All right, back to you.
Mike Tyson, don't sue us, bro, and we do not want to fight you in the ring.
Love Mike.
Number 6, the last symbol appears to be in the clouds, which can represent the elegance and high status in traditional Japanese iconography.
Which is cool, and maybe it is telling that story, Haroon. Like maybe it's telling a story through those, but we found them to be family crests, and number 6 we said was the Maori family. So it could be that they're just telling a story with those crests, or it could be families. Which number 6 is Maori, and the gate that you saw, which you said was the Torii gate, I think that is a famous family as well.
So anyway.
Okay. Above these icons, there's text that says Swift, I don't know, which translates to Swift Japanese Story or Swift the Tale of Japan. Nice. Thank you very much, Haroon. I appreciate that.
Shout out to Maximus Crypto and the Crypto Root podcast. Those guys are hilarious. Shout out to Haroon as well. You're going to notice some key differences here, but there's some similarities as well. We had the first 2 symbols, which I'm associating with the Ginkgo tree, which has a deep connection to Japanese culture. Now, we'll say that it also grows in China and a couple other places, but I haven't seen it tied to something this strongly outside of Japan. Then we have what at this point I have to say is the Torii family crest, and we just saw what that could mean. So I focused on, because if you're still with me, if you're still here, I know you subscribed and joined. You ain't robbing me like that by not tapping the subscribe image on the screen that costs you nothing but being a decent human being for a moment, which you can literally turn off the alerts. But I digress. Back to where we are. We talked about this in SwiftCoin 1. I'm going to leave this as the Japan story. So shout out to Peterson from the Underdog crew, right? Remember, Haroon had a similar translation as well, but Peterson is the one who provided me with my initial translation of that text. We talked about the water symbol in place of the bird wing. Shout out to Black Roo. Then there's the Ginkgo trees. Now, remember, one of them looks to be fully intact and the other damaged, surrounded by a circle. And I believe this is intentional to represent the atomic bomb event survival. The succulent and the volcano, translating to rebirth and abundance. And of course, the noble families, which names have existed since the late 1800s and were around for the Tokugawa shogunate and Meiji Restoration. Again, these were memorable times in Japan histories concerning the transfer of power. So the title is fitting. This is the Japan story. One about a country that has a strong sense of identity, that's gone through hard times, but there are plans for an abundant rebirth. And these families are backing it. And they backing Swift in root of that. It is at this point where I consider the research provided by Underdog, Black Roo, those valuable insights from Indigo, and the assist from Max, and I declare this mystery solved. If you ain't seeing it at this point, you won't. And it's probably not because you can't. I would never insult your intelligence like that. It's more likely that it's because you don't want to. For me, this has been the most interesting, thrilling, and culturally educational journey this side of crypto. But I didn't go it alone. Everybody listening to this video right now came with me. Whether you choose or chose to pay attention or not, that's beyond my control, right? But I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. And instead of a question, I'm gonna leave you with a poll. Feel free to leave your answer down in the comment section, but I will throw up a community poll post as well where everybody can vote. And the vote is going to be on my description of what's going on in this image. If you think it's way off in left field and I should be prescribed some pills, I want you to vote or comment bearish. If you think or know it's at least somewhat on track or close enough, I want you to vote or comment bullish. It's that simple, folks. Appreciate your participation. And I think we're going to go ahead and park this train right at something to think about Avenue. In a Reuters article on February 2nd, 2024, it was stated that interest payments on government debt for Japan are expected to jump to 24.8 trillion yen in fiscal 2033, which ends in March of 2034. Japan's public debt stands at more than twice the size of its economy, by far the worst among the industrial world. But as a first step towards fixing tattered public finances, the Japan government vowed to bring the primary budget for national and local governments combined to a surplus by the fiscal year ending in March 2026. A target analysts describe as a tall order. Until next time, don't get shook. Stay focused. And I'm out.
Hear that music? Still French.